I just have a couple questions that I would like to ask you guys, just so I kind of get a feel for the audience. Is there anyone here tonight who has been to Afghanistan? If you could just raise your hand. Military, humanitarian, engineer? Humanitarian? Oh, really? Wow. When were you there?
A year ago.
Okay. Did you come and get a haircut? Okay, well, that's very cool. Anybody here who has seen the Beauty Academy of Kabul? Okay. I'm just going to try to give you a kind of a description between the Beauty Academy of Kabul and this book. The Beauty Academy of Kabul was the very first class of, it was a documentary made of the very first class in Afghanistan. It was a group of 6 hairdressers, and I was one of them that went over to Afghanistan and started the school. Since then, some things have changed, and kind of everybody, hairdressers, we can't be gone that long. I opted to stay and continue with the school. A lot of changes. Anybody who's seen the documentary, if you actually go into the salon now or the school now, it's totally different because things have changed in Afghanistan. And so I just wanted you to understand that the book is about the evolution of the school, about the women, about how I evolved in Afghanistan, what I've learned from the people there. Just to give you kind of a brief, people kind of think, how does a hairdresser get to Afghanistan? I've been asking myself the very same thing. I actually raised in my mom's beauty shop all my life. As a hairdresser in Michigan, you know, Midwest gal. Actually, my roots are from the South, but raised in Michigan. And I started to kind of get this yearning for a little bit more. It's like I kept thinking, this is all I'm supposed to do. And I basically started doing what I call vacation with a purpose, and started traveling, raising money in the beauty shop to go to India and drill wells, or I hung out in a leper colony one time, and just stuff like that. Humanitarian projects just kind of on my own. And then I took disaster relief and with this team in Chicago, and deployed out to the Trade Center when 9/11 happened. I worked with the firefighters there. And the same team went to Afghanistan. I begged them, please, please, please let me go. And they're thinking, what do we need a hairdresser for? We need doctors, we need nurses. But they were kind enough to allow me to go with them. I knew that I was supposed to be in Afghanistan, and I could not figure out, I didn't know why, but I knew that was where my place was in the world. And so I went to Afghanistan and was absolutely useless on the team, did laundry. I mean, they just kind of looked at me like, why is she here? And I did laundry, but there was a moment where there was a large group like this with a lot of NGOs, non-governmental agencies, in a group, and we were introducing ourselves. You know, we have doctors and we have dentists, and they says, and we have a hairdresser. And the place just went crazy. And from that point on, I had my purpose. I had sticky notes. I had sticky notes on my door every night, and I was cutting hair all day long. There was some shaggy reporters and shaggy missionaries, and so everybody needed a little bit of something. So I started doing hair. And I would hear these stories, the horrible stories about bionic lice, and, I had to cross the Khyber Pass to Pakistan to get a haircut, and I'm like, that's like 12-hour drive. It's like, why aren't these people going to the beauty salons? And so I tried to find beauty salons. And they had just kind of crawled out of the rubble at that point, and I went inside, and you know that feeling when you're trying not to look surprised and you're actually horrified, and I'm thinking, oh, hi, what a nice place you got. And it was just awful. It was the saddest place I'd ever been into. These women were trying their hardest to be hairdressers. They had scissors, rusty scissors about this long. They were using sticks for perm rods and rubber bands. And they had broken mirrors, one comb. It was just, I thought, and they, end papers to wrap perms with, they were hanging them up and reusing them because you could not get any more. It was really, I thought, it was one of those moments where you thought, if I had not seen this, I think I would have, that would be a good thing because now it's going to haunt me. It's like it got stuck in me, and I thought, I want to go back home. I want to live in my little house with my kids and do hair in Michigan, and that's it. And I couldn't, they wouldn't go away. It's like they haunted my sleep. And somebody told me, you need to start a school. Teach these women how to do hairdressing. Give them this skill. This is such a needed skill. And I was kind of under probably the same assumption that a lot of people are. They're veiled. They wear burqas. What do they need a hairdresser for? I mean, you talk about bad hair day. You put a burqa on, you can go. And I'm thinking, same thing. I hadn't seen that many women either. So, women, you just didn't see women. They were either veiled up. Nobody was really, nobody saw women. And this is 2002. So I started to just investigate the whole beauty industry and the cultural aspect of it, only to find out that they're so meticulous and so made up and so beautiful under those burqas. You'll see, and I know the ones who've been to Afghanistan, you could see they would have their shoes would be high heels in like 7 inches of mud, and they were clean. I'm like slush and mud everywhere. And their hair, they take the burqa off. How their hair stayed looking good, I'll never know. And their makeup is perfect. It's not maybe our style, but it's beautiful, and they're so attuned to just really grooming themselves. And the one thing about the beauty industry, the people that have been to Afghanistan have done other humanitarian operations. There's so many things that you can teach a woman. You can teach them basket weaving, or you could teach them carpet weaving, teach them how to tailor. So there's a lot of things you can do. Because I'm a hairdresser, obviously, I know how to do hair. And so the one thing that I found that was so amazing is I was in an abusive marriage prior when I first went into the country. And I remember watching the Taliban with these women and how they would take them into the stadium and stone them, and hearing story after story after story about the oppression of the women there. And I was living with this crazy man, and I felt the same way. I thought, how did this strong woman like myself wind up in this abused situation where I'm like a victim? I'm like, I don't want to be a victim. And I'm watching these women, and it's like I could relate to what they were feeling. It's like my marriage was 5 years. The Taliban had been there 5 years. I thought I had my own Taliban. And So it's like, in my own little level of where my brain was going, I kind of was just going with them. It's like, we gotta, root for the women and, girl power. And it's like, I just had to do something. So I found out that the one, and I know in my marriage, the one thing I had to do was stash money. He was a control freak, and I had to hide my money and stash money. And these women in beauty shops, no men allowed. That means no brother, no husband, no uncle, no father. So no man knows how much money they're making. They're in complete control of their little world. And in the beauty shop, in an Afghan salon, they can make up to $200 for one bride hair. I mean, that's an amazing amount of money. I mean, and weddings are happening that's like one of their biggest events is weddings. I mean, there's no venue for men and women to socialize. I mean, they don't socialize together at all, but they'll have these weddings. And so this is a big event. These women just glitz up from head to toe. And so basically, that was the whole idea for doing a school and training the women in hairdressing. And I want to tell you, I don't know how many people have read the book, but the first chapter starts out with one of my best friends. Her name is Roshana, and she's a young Afghan girl who they have arranged marriages. And so she was promised or engaged to a young man, or he wasn't that young, but older than her. She was maybe 18, and they did an engagement party. I could go to an engagement party and a wedding party, and I can't tell the difference. They look exactly the same. They're huge, kind of like would be like our wedding receptions. They don't have anybody walking down the aisle like wedding. They have these giant wedding receptions and a giant engagement receptions. And so she did her big giant engagement reception, and actually they had signed the legal papers. But in Afghanistan, you have to prove you are a virgin. And there is no other way to prove you are a virgin other than the show of blood, which is the most crucial thing. A woman who is not a virgin is of no worth. She is useless to her family. She is considered a prostitute. She is shamed. There's nothing worse for them. In fact, you can be killed at your wedding, at your consummation ceremony, if you're not a virgin. And it shames the entire family. Some people, they demand the dowry back. They'll kick you out of town. It's just brutal. And so she had been engaged, and the man was from another country, and he decided that he was going to rape her, and he did. Well, she was not actually legally married to him because there was no consummation ceremony. And she was so shamed that she didn't you don't talk about sex in Afghanistan. You don't ever talk about it. You don't talk about it. Your mother doesn't tell you anything. You don't talk to it's just like they don't even tell you they're pregnant until the baby is out. And then I'm like, wow, you were pregnant? And it's like, because they don't want to admit that they've actually, had sex. So she was so shamed that she wouldn't tell anybody. But 2 years later, so her parents don't know this, she was engaged. Oh, so the guy takes off. And 2 weeks later, officially divorces her. He had a wife already in the country he was living in and just left her high and dry. So, but now nobody knows that she's not a virgin. And then her family engages her again. Well, she's stressing horribly at this. I don't know this is going on. We're having this big, elaborate beauty shop preparation wedding thing. And, you know, I mean, it starts with hair removal from the eyebrows down. And it's quite an event. And it's a 7 to 8 hour ordeal. And then she's just shivering and quivering in the corner. I'm like, you know, this is a little bit more than wedding nerves. I knew something was wrong. And she says, I'm not a girl. And which means I'm not a virgin. And I'm like, looking at her like, oh, this is going to be a really big problem. So she just kind of pretended it didn't happen and for 2 years, and I'm standing there thinking, you know, she's going to be killed. This is going to be the worst day of her life. And so then we do the whole wedding thing. Not for 1 second can a bride ever look happy. Eyes down and serious, and they never look up, and their hands are folded like this the entire time. Never a smile. And their hair is this big with tiaras and flowers and big green dress and bling everywhere, and everybody's dancing, and these people, men, it's so weird. Men dance with men and women dance with women, and there's 2 separate rooms, and they seduce each other in their dance. Like the women are in these slinky, sexy dresses, dancing like belly dancing style with other women. But what's really weird is I peeked into the men's room, and these guys are doing the same thing. I'm like, oh, creepy. It's like, and then I look over in the women's section and I see what I thought were men, and I'm like, okay, we're so in trouble. The Virtue and Vice police are going to come and kill us. They were women dressed like men, playing like the man's role so they could like look cool when they're dancing. Really weird. But anyways, I was privy to going to the wedding, which was my very first Afghan wedding. And I really don't like going to them because it's this kind of, nobody's speaking English and they're kind of just staring at you like, and they put you, has anybody ever been, anybody who's traveled, ever been at a table where the person has the 3 words of English gets sat next to you? It's kind of like that, and they all just kind of stare at you like you're growing heads or something. But it's just kind of weird. So basically, I was on my way out the door. I watched my beautiful young friend look mortified all evening long, knowing that this guy was like 43, something like that, and she's 21, never seen him before in her life, and now is going to be basically multiply raped. She was scared to death, on top of the fact that she had her secret. So I just wanted to go home. I mean, I didn't know what was going to happen, and I knew there was nothing I could do. And they dragged me and threw me in the car, and I'm at the house now for the consummation party. This is not a good thing. I mean, everybody is waiting in this room, and they go off into another room, and the mother has her ear. I'm thinking, oh, you've got to be kidding. And so, I mean, this small girl, I mean, she just was like a little teeny girl. I mean, my children were her age. And all of a sudden, finally, they have these giant kind of pillows that are around the wall. And that's what we were sleeping on. So I wound up sleeping over that night. And the next thing I know, I get woke up to this mother screaming. Oh, she's just in Farsi crying, and she's got the Quran in her hand, and she's kissing it and putting it here, and she's waving this white cloth at me, and I'm like, oh, what is this? And she's just screaming. I'm like, I don't know what she wants, and I don't know what she's doing, and why is she waving this white cloth at me? And somebody said, there's no blood. I'm like, oh, I knew that. And she goes, you must go, you talk to him. And I'm thinking, I'm going to go talk to him? You got to be kidding me. I'm like, no. For some reason, they think that because I'm an American, I can fix everything. I'm thinking, yeah. And I'm like, I walk in the room, and Roshana's like quivering in the corner. And he just looks at me. He goes, it doesn't work. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't know. I don't want to know what doesn't work. And I'm like, I just, what do you say? It's like, I did not want to know the details. And so I'm like trying to be like really correct here, because women don't talk to men about these sort of things. And this is a very awkward moment. And I'm like, just she's young, and, I'm going to go now. And so I went back out. And Roshana's in the corner crying. And so I try to fall asleep again. And then again, the mother wakes me up, screaming and crying, kissing the Quran. And I'm like, oh, and she's waving this thing in my face again. And I'm like, please stop. She goes, please, you must talk to Roshana. And I'm like, and what am I supposed to say? I'm like, I don't know. So I'm not much of a public reader, but I'm going to read this last part to you. This time I can't sleep. And sure enough, her mother is back in the room in a half an hour or so, weeping and kissing the Quran, imploring me to talk to Roshana again. I'm ready this time, with my purse tucked up inside my dress. Back in the consummation room, I ask Roshana for the white handkerchief, and I pull a pair of fingernail clippers out of my purse. What are you doing? She asks. I grit my teeth and I dig the clippers underneath one of my nails and then cut down to the quick until the blood spurted out. I wipe my finger back and forth on the handkerchief and then handed it to her. Here's your virginity, I tell her. Hide it under your cushion and then pull it out. The next time he enters you, let your mother come in and find it. She puts her hands over her face again, weeping, and I leave the room. Back in the guest room, I fall asleep once more and I'm awakened. Just as the sky is beginning to lighten, the house is in chaos and I can hear Roshana's mother wailing and screaming again. Doors are slamming, people are crowding the hallway. Everyone is talking at once. I stagger up from my cushion, filled with dread that the husband has discovered the bloody handkerchief under the bed, or that somehow it just doesn't look the way it should. But when I rush out into the hallway, I see Roshana's mother wailing for joy. Virgin, she shouts at me triumphantly, waving the handkerchief stained with my blood. Virgin. So I could talk all night. I mean, there's just a billion stories. A lot of them are in the book. A lot of them aren't. I did marry an Afghan man about a year and a half. Well, we've been married. It'll be 4 years in October. And crazy. You know what? If you want to know about that, you're going to have to read about it, because that would be a whole nother hour. But crazy wild marriage, fun, crazy wild guy. So can I ask, is there any questions?
Do you speak the language?
I have survivor diary. Yeah, it's really broken. I go outside of my compound and I'm pretty pathetic. So, but I can get by pretty good.
Do your kids live with you?
My kids no, I have one in the States and I have one my kids are 25 and 22. My oldest is in the States and my youngest is in Northern Cyprus going to the American University there. But they're both coming for this summer. Yes?
I know the Taliban is so against women. How do they allow beauty schools to exist?
The Taliban had kind of gotten weakened for a while. We're kind of having a little problem with the virtue and vice police right now, which is a sort of a Taliban thing. But they're kind of focused on the Chinese brothels right now, and alcohol is just abundant, and so they're kind of focused on these sort of things right now. I'm a little bit concerned for this summer. It's going to get heated up. This just happened, not in the book. People ask me if I've had any problems, and they decided that I was a brothel, and I was training the girls to be prostitutes. And I'm like, and they were going to they had this stack of papers this big. And then they decided I wasn't a brothel anymore, but I was a missionary, and I was converting them. And I said, okay. So my girls said, you know what? We only get 2 to 20 for being a prostitute, but they're going to kill us for being a Christian. So, I'm like, oh. So sometimes we can't win. Go ahead.
I was one of the people who raised their hands for seeing the documentary.
Uh-huh.
And I know in that first class anyway, the women that went through the school, and I got the impression that this was all going to be like sort of home little cottage industry business for them. Is it still that way, or if women are doing this at home, or are there commercials?
Oh, they have started there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of salons in Kabul. They are everywhere. It's such a huge business. The wedding industry alone is so huge. Wedding halls, they build these giant buildings, and the wedding business is huge there. So that the wedding, like what we think of as a salon, like haircuts and manicures, pedicures, their salons are more aimed at bridal hair and makeup and the threading of the eyebrows. So my girls, I opened up a salon that helps fund the school, and we're a Western salon that does hair cutting, manicure, pedicure, facials, massage. We're full service. Yes?
Did you know how to thread before?
I still can't thread.
Oh, you can't?
No, oh no, my goodness, you'd have no eyebrows. Yes?
Were you originally part of the Beauty Without Borders organization? Do they still exist?
I was a Parsa. It was kind of Beauty Without Borders, kind of for a short period of time. Parsa is the original founder of the beauty school, and then it pretty much stayed under Parsa. Beauty Without Borders became the nonprofit, and I was involved with that for the time that for the first class, and then it became back under Parsa's NGO. And so now we're a separate organization called Oasis Rescue. Yes?
Did your experience as the trade centers site link this to you going to Afghanistan? Or
Yeah, I couldn't quite get over it. I was at the trade center for a couple weeks, and it was at that point kind of the rest of the world had started moving forward, and I was still living it. And so it really affected me. I actually went through pretty hard depression after working there. I couldn't get past it. And I think that was a lot of the reasons. I was in a really bad marriage. I really was mortified at what, had just reliving with these firefighters, what they went through that day. And then I just really felt that I had to go. Yeah, I think it was directly linked. Yes?
In your experience, did you find that there's similar dynamic between what happened in an Afghan hair salon and what happened in an American salon? And if so, is there any potential for the women to kind of come together and share some similarities or some dynamics that might bring?
Are you a hairdresser? How many? Do we have hairdressers here? Is there any hairdressers? Oh, okay, great. A beauty salon is a beauty salon everywhere in the world. It's where women are free. There's a lot of gossip that happens. Your styling might be different and the systems might be different, but it's still exactly, it's the same. I think that it's exactly the same everywhere in the world. It's where women are women. You can never take that from us. Yes?
What's the educational system like for women in Afghanistan? I mean, they have access to higher education or even more skill-based education.
Like universities?
Yeah.
They do. It's really, really hard to get in. The education system is, I don't know firsthand, because obviously I don't teach in any of them. So I'm kind of generalizing. It's not to our standards, so to speak. But the girls are going to school. In the provinces, in different areas, maybe not as much, but in Kabul, the Kabulis are definitely sending their girls to school. But the problem is getting into the university. A lot of times it's who you know, or you have to have the top scores. It's a little more difficult to get into the university. And so like the American university is there, and that costs money, or there are some scholarships. So a lot of these kids really, really want to go, be a doctor or a lawyer or stuff like that, but they just don't have the opportunity because they can't get into the schools. Yes?
I heard your project that the impression that I had from your talk is there's so much bad about that culture. Do you know anything good about the culture there that we've lost here?
You know what? The Afghan people are probably some of the sweetest people that you've ever met in your entire life. The culture, it's quite an amazing culture, actually. It's so old, and combined with Islam and the culture, it's so full of life. When you go into the streets, you just see this culture everywhere. The people are so hospitable. They would give you the shirt off their back. They would give you their last morsel of food. They're amazing, amazing people. I would have not married one if they weren't. But you just got this, they've been at war. It's a war-torn nation. They've been at war for so many years, and they're still at war. The war is not over. And that's the problem, is a nation that has been bombarded like that for so many years, they lose a lot of their of some of the culture. They've lost some of their cooking techniques. They've lost some of their arts. So they get in survival mode. And so sometimes it can be really, really difficult. We still don't have electricity, and we don't have paved roads. We have random electricity. So we still run with generators, and it's still pretty harsh lifestyle. It's pretty hard out there. For any of you guys, you know how hard it is. It can be pretty rough. Yes?
How long did it take you to adjust to their food?
I haven't. I opened a coffee house and I have burgers and quesadillas now. So, yes.
I was wondering if you felt the need to modify your dress or demeanor while you're there to fit more, or are you still the gal from Michigan?
I am. In the very beginning, my husband, who thought I was crazy and didn't want me to ever wear pants, I wore the Pakistani style clothing, the shalwar kameez in the very beginning, kind of to fit in. And then, after a while, you'd go to the States and you'd have no clothes that were like Western clothes, and you just it was really hard. So I decided to just, this right here is a men's, this is a man's jacket that's tailored for a woman. And so I've just kind of decided to create my own style. There's a tailor in Kabul, and I'm calling it Afghan trendy. So, so now I'm just kind of doing my own thing. Yes?
Have you Americanized your husband at all, or have you adapted more to
You're going to have to read the book on that one. That's a really long story. He's, yes and no. You know what? He's a wild guy. He's straight out of a comic book. But he's really gracious with my, he's doing better now. He's around more foreigners. He's doing a lot better. He used to make me absolutely crazy. I thought I was going to kill him because he made me absolutely nuts. And you can you read about my roller coaster in the book. So, yes.
What do you do for entertainment? What kind of a social life do you have?
There's tons of restaurants. We have, it's a really tight-knit, it's a really good expat community. And so there's house parties all the time, and there's dinner parties, and we have Lebanese restaurants, a French restaurant, and we have all these different restaurants, so people go out in the evening. We get pirated movies, and we watch them at night, and I started a coffee house, so we have movie night on Tuesday night, and we showed the Oscars, and actually my social life is better there for some odd reason. I mean, it's really quite humorous. It's fun. Yes.
Was there enough of an American community so you had American clientele?
It's a really global community. After a while, you kind of don't see American, Australian, South African. It's just a real global community. There's everybody from everywhere in the world there. So, once in a while I get someone that's from Michigan. It's like, oh, you're from Michigan, So, but it's just really global. Yes.
When you talk about the things that happen and what the wedding ceremonies are like and the consummation parties and things like that, there are such terrible overtones of Nazism and slave ownership and all these kinds of despicable, horrible, against humanity issues. Is there not some tension when you work? Nazis were people, and families and friends, and so were slave owners.
Mm-hmm.
But is there not some tension in knowing what they are doing and what they are comfortable with?
I work with the women. Yeah, and so let me tell you, there's been a lot of tears shed in my salon and in the school. I'll give you a statistic. I believe it was Unifem that did the survey, said that between 60 and 80% of girls are married before the age of 16, and sometimes as early as the age of 6. And there is a high rate of suicide amongst the women in Afghanistan because They feel absolutely no hope because widows turn to prostitution because there's no other way for them to make a living. But suicide seems a viable option because there's no other way out. These women, it's my heart. That's why I'm still there. I mean, if I thought that, I feel like I'm maybe making a difference for some of them. I can't help all of them, but we've solved a lot of problems in the school. 182. You know, you can't fight thousands of years of culture. This is culture. You can't fight it. There are programs in place that are trying to help change it. It's about education. It's about educating the women. You can't, I get angry. I get angry a lot, but all I can do is focus on what I can do. That's about it, because being angry isn't going to do me a lot of good. I'd be mad all the time. Yes.
You see the piece on 2020 the other night where Diane Sawyer got back just recently.
Oh, that was
The women she'd seen 5 years ago. This time around asked if their identity not be
I know, I saw that. Good Morning America.
back.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's really getting bad there. Watch for this summer. This summer will be a pivotal turning point for Afghanistan, and I just don't think it's going to be in the right direction. It's the Taliban are getting stronger. The government's getting weaker. The people are getting angry. It's getting heated. I think throughout the foreign community, everybody's feeling the same tension that this summer is going to be a real heated summer. Yes?
What does your husband do
He's a general.
in the Afghanistan army?
Yeah. Yeah, gotta read the book. And then wait for book 2.
Question, do you live there 365 days a year?
I live there, I'm here now. I'm there most of the time, yeah. I come back at least once a year to see my kids, but I've been bringing my kids over to see me, which is easier. I go home and see my mom.
Well, if your kids come this summer, you think that's safe?
I've got some pretty good security. So I'm married to the general. So now we'll be okay. So, yes.
Are you familiar with the movie Osama?
Yeah.
And is that movie shown in Afghanistan?
Yeah, we rented it.
What was the reaction of the women that saw it?
Well, the Afghans that I know, and generally Afghans don't want this sort of thing to happen. They're always saying, well, these are the uneducated people. Nobody wants to see little girls being locked in a room and being the, third wife to a 90-year-old man. That's just not a good thing. But, their reaction is the same as ours. But the thing is it was Women's Day, International Women's Day, March 8th. I don't know if you guys celebrate it here, but it was International Women's Day. And my girls, we boycotted it. And we decided we wanted to do a demonstration, but we thought we'll probably get killed. But they says, we're not celebrating it. And I said, why? And they says, because we don't have anything to celebrate. And I says, yeah, but you have a job, you have this, and you have that. They says, yes, but we're still looked at as something to be bought and sold and bargained with. And when that stops, because I've got some girls in some really bad situations, and they're still not in control of their own life. And they says, we don't have a voice. Nobody listens to us. So they boycotted it. Yes?
How are the women doing that were in their first class that were in the document?
They're doing fabulous. They're so, did you see the, this is actually one of the girls from the first class. Did you recognize her? And one of the girls that had the baby in the box.
Yes.
Okay, she just came to work for me about 6 months ago. Her husband had like kidney failure or something like that, so she had her own salon, but she needed to make some serious money because now she was, he can't work, so. All the girls are doing really, really well. A couple of them have actually left the country and gone to Canada, I think. But the rest of them have their own salons, and they're doing really good.
It was the one that would wear the
Oh, the suit and tie? Oh, I know. She's got her own salon. She's crazy as a loon. She's so funny. Okay.
Are most of your students married, or are some of them getting this skill to take care of themselves?
There's no such thing as having the choice to take care of yourself. You must get married. There's not that. I mean, it's okay. And the thing is what we try to do is we try to gear the class towards the women who need it. You know, those who have sick husbands or are widows or their family of all sisters, and they got an elderly parent and they have no brothers. And some, you know, people who have to take care of themselves, yes, definitely. Yes?
What is their impression of American women?
Oh, they probably think we're crazy. No, you know, they love the fact that we are free, that we can drive, that we can just do what we do. They love that, you know. I mean, my girls, I can't speak. When I say they, I'm speaking for my girls, you know. But, yeah, they really love it. They think it's great. They love the fact that my girls are like wearing blue jeans now. They think blue jeans, and they call them cowboys. So, are we finished? Well, thank you so much. This is fabulous.